Wonderful. So, thank you everybody for being here. We are going to continue our study as we have been faithfully learning the Sefer, the True Power of Speech, the Key to Both Worlds, by Rabbi Mendel Kessin Shlita. We are so near the end of our studies, ladies. Kol hakavod to everybody for being steadfast. We are up to page 179. And we are looking at the heading, the seventh dimension, contamination and repugnance. The seventh dimension has gargantuan ramifications. Have you ever wondered? I daven day in and day out for years, and it seems as though God doesn't hear me. Many of my prayers don't seem to have any impact, no effect whatsoever. It can't be because I'm insincere, because I am sincere. Why is it that so much of what we ask for goes unanswered? The answer is alarming. The Chofetz Chaim says, quoting the Zohar, open quotation, Mi sheyesh bo Lashon Hara en tefilot, welcome Shendel, ein tefiloso nichnesa lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He who speaks Lashon Hara causes his prayers to be denied entry before God. How is that? Lashon Hara enables the Satan to cover one's prayers and envelop them with tum'ah, a spirit of unholiness. Visualize what this means. God won't hear the tefillah regardless of its sincerity. This is not the only problem we have. There's another quote from the Chofetz Chaim that's applicable to every single Jew who learns Torah, particularly yeshiva students who learn Torah diligently all day, along with those who learn Daf Yomi. The Chofetz Chaim specifies that anyone who is open to speaking Lashon Hara and does not heed warnings to be cautious, regardless if that individual learns the entire Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, all 4,000 Mishnayot of the 6 orders of the Mishnah, and the entire Shas, 2,711 blat, which are folios, multiple times. When he ascends to heaven, he will not find one word of Gemara that will protect him. Every component of Torah he learned will be tainted and repugnant to look at. Wow, this is serious. With an even stronger emphasis, the Chofetz Chaim stresses that at the end of the Shmoneh Esrei prayer, we say, God, guard my tongue from speaking evil. Open my heart to your Torah. For as much as speaking Lashon Hara contaminates any Torah learning, this is the reasoning for first asking God to guard our tongues before we beseech that he open our hearts to learn Torah. Essentially, if one doesn't refrain from derogatory speech, one's Torah is worthless. Imagine a man who died. He already finished Shas numerous times, so he assumes that upon his arrival up there, they're going to roll out an enormous red carpet for him. Instead, he gets to Shemaim and they ask him, what do you want? What do you want? He reacts incredulously. I'm here to collect all the Torah I've learned. Collect? I learned thousands of hours, pages and pages of Gemara. Excuse me? Have you ever genuinely focused on your Torah learning? Remember all the Lashon Hara you spoke? All the reputations you ruined? The lives you damaged? All the loathing you instigated? Are you aware that as a result of your derogatory speech, the Satan was able to contaminate every single word you've ever learned? For that reason, your Torah has been saturated with the spirit of filth, and it therefore is worthless. Close quotation. Think of the look on this man's face. The Chofetz Chaim states that Lashon Hara destroys the Torah's worth. Picture this man completing all 2,711 folios, participating in Agudas Yisrael's Siyum Hashas, and celebrating the accomplishment of his labor over 7 years of studying Shas and feeling confident that he'll be rewarded? What consternation awaits him, assuming that his speaking and or listening to Lashon Hara has corrupted all of his efforts. The Chofetz Chaim is not exaggerating. Why is our Torah worthless, and why are our prayers denied entry into God's chamber of consideration when we speak or give credibility to denigrating speech? How is it possible that the Satan has the ability to encase our Torah with ruach tum'ah, a spirit of impurity, consequently rendering it unprocurable to us in olam haba? The answer to these questions revolves around specific Kabbalistic ideas which are crucial to us all. Consider this parable. A person invests in various businesses over the course of many years. He places his wealth in a bank, but much to his dismay, the bank has a hole in it, and his amassment is dropping out. This man, who only becomes aware of this years later, asks himself, what was the point of all these years of speculation, the years spent on Wall Street analyzing the most lucrative investments? I've lost it entirely. I've made the dire mistake of being unable to safeguard my finances. Consequently, though we invest in Torah learning and prayer, we are incapable in preserving the purity of what we've labored to accomplish. Speaking Lashon Hara is equivalent to garnishing your sushi with parasitic worms and spending hours on its preparation. How awful. The next section is the mechanism of Sfirot, but I want us to discuss what we've read instead. So this week we have been discussing the period that we are in. We are in the 9 days. We are actually just a day and a bit before starting our fast of Tisha B'Av. We know, we have learned in this Sefer and in other shiurim that the negative force and the punishment that the Jews suffered was a result originally of the spies and their sin of speaking Lashon Hara. I want to remind all of us, because we've studied it before, but I just want to link everything together. Rabbi Kessin, in his book, in the beginning of the lessons, taught us, wanted us to see the structure of the power of speech. And he reminded us that when God created Adam HaRishon, he created him, endowed him with 2 gifts, the gift of da'at and dibur, in that order. Da'at, the capability of consciousness, understanding, amassing information, wisdom, preferably MS, and processing that, and then dibur, speech. Rav Kessin reminded us the power of speech we are able to see thanks to Hashem specifically giving the Torah and recounting that the creation occurred through 10 utterances. Rashi says, such a powerful God, and he needed 10 utterances. He couldn't metaphorically just snap his fingers and the whole world would appear. Of course he could have, but he did so specifically with 10 utterances to let humans, us, know that words create worlds. The whole Beriah was created through utterances. And Rav Kessin says, just like words can create worlds, words have the power to destroy worlds. So this is very important. And then he tells us immediately where we can find the very first time we see Lashon Hara in the Torah. Because we know that the Torah is our instruction book. Everything we need to know is in the Torah. It is the manual by which we are meant to live by. And it's there in Bereshit. When the primordial snake, the Nachash, goes over to Adam and Chava and convinces them to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. When Hashem told Adam, you shall live in this garden, this Gan Eden, the Garden of Eden, you shall enjoy it, you shall eat from every fruit in the garden, except not from the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And Adam knew that. Rav Kessin tells us that Adam knew that God, Hashem, created everything, that he was the creator of the entire universe. Because when Adam came onto the scene, into creation, everything was already in place. But what the Nachash did was he started saying Lashon Hara on Hashem. He told them, don't you want to be as strong and mighty and knowledgeable as God? You know why God said don't eat from that tree? Because that's the tree that God eats from. That's where God gets all his power, if you will. And they believed his Lashon Hara. Rav Kessin explained to us that prior to this transgression, to this terrible sin, the Nachash lived independent. His evil was independent and outside of Adam and Chava. But after the sin of listening to the Lashon Hara and eating from the forbidden fruit, the evilness of the Nachash became internal to humanity, to us. It became a part of our psyche. That's where the Satan became the Yetzer Hara, that voice in your mind that tells you, just do what you want. Fulfill your desires. You don't have to listen to anybody. You could just do what you want. And we're constantly fighting that. We're constantly fighting that. And so, Lashon Hara continues. We see that Yosef goes out into the fields to see what's up with his brothers. And he speaks Lashon Hara about them to his father. And Rav Kessin is telling us that at every turn, Lashon Hara destroys relationships and destroys the very fabric of creation. And then we have to do tikkun. We have to correct that. And so let's fast forward and get to the spies. Bnei Israel were delivered. They were taken out of Egypt earlier. That was yesterday's shir, so I'm not going to go over all those details. Suffice it to say, 210 years was what it took for us to do a tikkun in Mitzrayim and get out of there before we would have drowned in the tum'ah of the Mitzrim, in their impurity and their ways of living. And Hashem took us out, and for 40 years, we had to wander the desert. But that wasn't the plan. The plan was after receiving the Torah, and Bnei Israel were supposed to take that Torah and go into Eretz Yisrael, the land that Hashem promised our forefathers as a gift to us, if we should uphold God's laws. That's the covenant. But the spies, the leaders of the tribes, said to Moshe Rabbeinu, we want to tour the land. We want to go and check it out. We want to go see, is the land really good for us? And I'm not going to go into all the interpretations of why they said that, because they were the leaders of the tribes. They were righteous people. I'm not going to go into the different opinions that they wanted to stay and learn Torah in the desert, that they didn't want to work the land, that they wanted to stay more spiritual and not have to get physical. I'm not going to go into that, where there is benefit of the doubt. But at the end of the day, out of the 12, 10 came back with a negative report on the land of Israel. Imagine the gift that Hashem saw fit to give Bnei Israel. They said Lashon Hara on this land. And it was devastating. And Bnei Israel listened to the Lashon Hara, believed it, and cried. And Hashem punished us then and there and said, you cry tears for nothing? Forevermore you will cry tears on this day. And this is the day that both our holy temples were destroyed. Why? Because of Lashon Hara. And our sages tell us, if it's not rebuilt, it's because there is still sinat chinam, baseless hatred amongst Jews, where Jews continuously speak Lashon Hara about each other. And that is what we need to fix. And so I always say, I'm speaking to the faithful. You are amazing women. And we're here, we're learning together. And we are working hard on Shmirat HaLashon, like Liz says. We prefer to emphasize what we do speak about and not what we shouldn't speak about, because we don't want to be belittled. We want to rise up and use the power that Hashem gave us for tefillah, for limud Torah, for uplifting another Jew. That's what we want to do. Now, let me see who's still with us. And maybe I would like to invite Liz to share some of what she has been learning as well. We go back such a long time, and how this has always come up as a hashgacha pratit for us. And I'm going to pin you, Liz, if you'll permit me,
Sure.
so that everyone will listen to the beautiful Torah that you two learn, and I want you to give it over to us.
Well, it's really just the simplicity of, first of all, the intention that we've had together. And hi, Miriam. I don't know if you would even remember, but the Midnight Hadbodadu chats is where I met Siggy and Naomi Batya and Devorah Hagar, and
That's right.
she introduced me to your group, and there was so many breakthroughs. So I think sometimes it's very important to ground and to really understand we really are just regular women that came together from a place of ratzon and wanting to cling to Hashem.
Exactly.
And the more that we really dug in deep into Rav Kessin's book, the more I started to really notice all around me how really the Chofetz Chaim and his teachings have always sort of been, um, an avoda
Yes.
that created a lot of busha, because inevitably, just living in a regular world, you're going to sit at a Shabbat table at any point. I felt a little bit hopeless about that work, but what happens, I really do think, with this ratzon, with the reset, with the intention, you start to see that Hashem never wants to, chas v'shalom, constrict our power of speech.
Right.
We are pure of heart. Our intention is pure. We want to understand these very deep, um, almost above our pay grade, as I say, concepts
Always.
of what went on in Gan Eden. And personally, for me, this has always been a bit of an obsession with wanting to learn and understand the pshat of why would Hashem introduce the nachash? Why introduce that frequency to tune into to begin with? And again, that's a whole other conversation. But for the purpose of our discussion and elevating together the Lashon HaKodesh of Ana B'Koach,
Yes,
during the month of which you and I started to talk about, there's no such thing as a coincidence, and it's always for us a wink from Hashem. We're on the right derech, even if it's just you and I,
exactly.
trying to express this to a small group of women to say this is a Breslov tradition. We know that it wasn't for everybody when it started, but the Lashon HaKodesh comes to replace Lashon Hara. It's the same initials, and it's
We're so
Lashon
close.
Hara
We're
Lamed
so
Hey,
Yes, and we're so close to the end. So yes,
yeah,
we could use this. So whereas before only the Kabbalists would sing
right,
the Ana B'Koach every word 7 times with their intentions, and we just tap into that. We don't really know what we're doing, but we're just tapping into that because we have this ratzon to be bedvekus with Hakadosh Baruch Hu and just wanting to do His ratzon. And women were given these 9 measures of speech, and we want to use it properly through our tefillah, through our chinuch, through our encouragement for one another, through our good words, through our learning of Torah. And whereas once upon a time, it wasn't looked upon so proper. Like, why should women be doing this? Are women even allowed to go get together and pray? Remember how those questions came up to us, Liz, all these
yes,
years? Like, who do you
right,
think you are saying these prayers? But it's time.
right,
It's time. It's just like now that we're learning the Zohar. Like once upon
yes,
a time, it was Asur. It was like women, they were not allowed to touch that. Or you had to be a certain age to even look at that. But today, the sages, the Chachamim are telling us that that's what's going to bring the Geula. That's,
wow,
we have
so
to do
empowering,
that
so
have,
empowering, so beautiful.
things that have not been done before have
Yeah,
to be taken upon now. So what I'm going to do now is if anybody wants, let me remove the pins. And if anybody wants to ask a question or to share a comment, Shandel, I see you're unmuted. Please tell us, share.
The craziest thing, I started learning Daf Yomi with
Oh, how
with Ellie
beautiful.
Stefanski. With Ellie Stefanski. I love it.
This is so
oh,
nice.
Shangle, that's the best.
So now
Yay.
you're
I
going to teach us.
crazy. I
How beautiful. So, but let's not forget Rabbi Kessin's deep Torah that we just learned right now.
for sure.
But we are learning because we know that Olam Haba is Kulo Torah, right? It's all Torah.
Right.
But if we speak Lashon Hara, Chas v'Shalom, then our Torah will not have any value in the
That's
next
right.
world. So while we're learning Torah, we have to maintain our lessons and learning of Lashon Tov, Shmiras HaLashon,
For
and learning
sure.
the laws on what to say, what not to say, how to say things, when to say things, so that this way we won't be over. And I think that the the observance of this law of Shmirat HaLashon is like Shabbos. If you stop learning the halachot, you may come to transgress this
Right.
mitzvah.
I think one of the hardest things is on shidduchim of
Yes,
Shmirat HaLashon. You have to. It's
100%.
crazy.
100%.
It's
And
so hard.
I remember every year I'm invited to speak to I won't say exactly which school, but religious school, seminary in Montreal. And the principal, the Rebbitzin, always tells me that, and I always wonder why they want me to come. Like I'm not at the level that they are.
You
And she
are so much.
Oh, and I'm so humbled when she asks me to come and speak to them. And then she says to me, "You are mechazek me." And I said, "But Rebbitzin, how? You're from birth. You're generation from. Like what can I possibly say?" And she says, "You
Why you're not greater than we are?
no." And what she said was so beautiful. She said this. She said that especially in my tafkid, in my job as a principal, I have to be extra careful on the laws of Shmirat HaLashon. And she says, I have to be extra careful not to bring or speak about certain things in my home to my children or near my children, because that would be transgressing the laws of Shmirat HaLashon. So you see, everyone needs chizuk. And I always say, like Rabbi Eli Mansour says, even the presenter or the speaker is mechazek through giving over the Torah, because you have to read it, you have to prepare it, you have to talk about it, and therefore you internalize it. So together here, we are helping each other hold this up, and maybe we will be zoche to dance together by the third Beit HaMikdash, and have our beautiful Seuda by Rebbetzin Frimit's home, which she invited us. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording now so that the other ladies could freely speak and ask their questions. Okay, let me end that now. Thank you. And